Welcome back to Health Matters. I'm joined by the lovely Leah Young of Spirichi, and she's a facilitator for the Am I Hungry program. Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome
Thanks for
back.
having me. Thank you.
Yes.
Thanks. Great to be here.
Eating behavior. Clarify eating behavior, please.
Well, it's a lot more than just what we eat. It's all of those sort of small decisions that we make leading up to eating, and people often don't think of that. So it's what we choose to eat, it's when we eat, it's why we eat, how does the food get from the plate into your body, how do we know when to stop eating, and one really important thing that we often don't think about is where is the energy going? I mean, the whole purpose of eating is to fuel life. It's sort of a means to an end instead of the other way around. And so it's important for us to kind of be able to know where is our energy going at the end of the whole process.
Why is it important for people to become aware of eating behavior?
Well, I think it's really important because a lot of us unfortunately use food as a coping mechanism.
Sure.
So the same way we would use, some people would use drugs and alcohol to get through the stresses of life, a lot of us use food. And you know, that's okay because it's more socially acceptable, except then when we start to gain weight, then unfortunately being overweight isn't as socially acceptable. So, you know, people then start this dieting behavior. And then unfortunately, diets don't often work for us. So, you know, if you find yourself sort of repeatedly gaining weight and losing weight and gaining weight, and you're not able to kind of get a handle on that, that's a sign that maybe there's something going on with eating behavior. Thoughts and being sort of preoccupied and running on about food and thinking about food and talking about food a lot. Recognizing even that, you know, maybe I am using food to cope emotionally, to mitigate stress or deal with emotions. Those are all signs and all ways that eating behavior can be important to recognize.
Sure. What I'm hearing is you're talking about habit change. People need to change their habits and become aware of their dysfunctional habits, really, that lead to, you know, ill health. So what makes a person ready to even be aware of these habits?
Yeah, well, for me, there's generally two key ways. So I think that, you know, either something can blow up on you. So, you know, maybe a huge life event, unfortunately, someone might pass away, or you have a major illness, or someone you love gets really sick, maybe you lose your job. That's one way that we often become ready to change, and that's not really a very comfortable way to have to change. But then, you know, there's times when we can be a little bit more proactive. Maybe we've had more of a positive life change, like maybe we got a new job or birth of a child or something where we just feel we want to take better care of ourselves, and that's a much better way. I really encourage people to take change more proactively. Now, it does require a lot more self-awareness and, you know, a little more grit around commitment. Definitely, it's the better option if we can be proactive and make that decision.
Do you ever see Jamie Oliver? I love Jamie Oliver.
Yes.
And so recently he came out with his whole pink slime process with the fast food restaurant McDonald's, and how basically part of the food from the cow is unfit for human consumption, and this is their filler in their hamburger meat. And basically they wash, this is the sinews and fats from the cow, right, that's full of E. coli and bacteria, and it's washed in ammonium hydroxide and then rinsed in water and then ground, and that's our filler. So he showed this process in a video, and apparently now, and this is all over the news, right, and apparently now McDonald's is saying, you know, we're going to change our recipe, but no one knows what they're going to change it to, right? You know, so I mean, just even knowing that you're eating something with chemicals in it, I mean, isn't that enough to wake you up?
Well, I think from time to time, yes. I mean, that people may decide that, yes, that's enough, and I want to do something different for sure. But yeah, it's the same type of thing.
What was your wake-up call?
Well, for me, it was just that repeated dieting, like losing weight, gaining weight, and just, you know, not knowing. And I realized, I mean, I actually call mine an eating monster. I just, you know, I'd follow a program to a certain point and just, you know, not really get past it. And then I did have a tragedy. My brother passed away prematurely. He was 44, and largely due to complications of obesity, and I kind of wasn't feeling very healthy myself and decided I was going to diet again, and it just didn't work, you know, and I realized I've got to deal with the eating behavior, and I found a program to support that.
Right. So I'm sorry to hear about the loss of your brother.
Thank you.
Oftentimes that's people use food to cope with the grief and the sadness.
Yes.
Right? So it's an emotional
Absolutely,
trigger.
absolutely. Lots of emotional triggers, and those are tough.
What's TFAR?
TFAR, that's a way of kind of getting into, like, we tend to kind of eat for different reasons. So when I'm getting people to kind of start to understand their eating behavior, they'll look at kind of maybe their physical symptoms, maybe environmental, and then there's the more difficult emotional. Like, a lot of us don't have any awareness around our emotions. So TFAR is a great tool to allow people to start to understand what their emotional, what's going on. And it stands for thoughts, feelings, actions, and results. And most often when we're trying to change our actions, we change our behaviors. We start with behaviors hoping we get different results, and that doesn't really work. We've got to dial all the way back into our thoughts. And so what are we feeling and what are we thinking? What thoughts are supporting those feelings so that we can move and change and go in a different direction?
You have transformational workshops that you host. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. What I do, I mean, I really think for most people that it's a very isolating situation. And so, you know, if you're feeling like you're struggling with this, it's great to kind of work with a group of people and to identify that, hey, I'm not the only one that lives with this. So that's a big part of the transformation weekend, is that you're involved with a group and you get to kind of engage and learn from other people, but you learn a whole lot of different tricks and tools and different kinds of coping mechanisms to get into what's actually eating you, so that you can deal with that. You know, like if you're stressed, maybe you need to take a vacation, maybe you need to talk to your boss, maybe you need to get some help at home, but we just continue to live in the stress instead of getting to the real thing that's going on. So you learn better self-care, and you realize at the end of it, you know what? It really just wasn't even about the food at all, right? It's about everything else you have stacking up in your life.
What a great service you offer.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you're local, right? In
Yes,
Mississauga?
I am. Yeah, I'm in Mississauga, but the workshops, I generally do the Transformation Week workshops here in Mississauga, but I also do my services virtually, so I've worked with people across the country.
Nice.
So.
Leah, thank you very much for joining us today on Health Matters.
My
Please come
pleasure.
back. It's always a joy to have you here. As a final note, I'll leave you with a quote by Adele Davis. She says, we do one of two things every day. We either produce good health or we create disease. It's your choice. Have a wonderful evening.